This is one of the world's most extraordinary ancient sites. The vast hilltop site is filled with archaeological wonders, crafted from stone.
For 500 years, we thought we understood the walls above Cusco. Enormous stones, cut and fitted so tightly you still cannot slide a sheet of paper into the seams, holding firm through earthquakes that leveled everything the Spanish built later.
No single block is the same size or shape as any other block, and yet they're all fitted together with this incredible level of precision.
Then, a team did something no one had tried. They fed every laser scan, every measurement, every joint into an AI, and told it to forget the story in the textbooks and report only what the stones themselves actually said. What came back did not match what we have been telling ourselves for centuries, and the closer they looked, the stranger it got. The wall that will not obey. The place is Sacsayhuaman, a vast zigzagging complex of terraces on the high ridge above Cusco in the south of Peru. You have almost certainly seen it in a photograph. Tawny blocks glowing in the thin mountain light, arranged in a sawtooth line that looks like nothing a person should have been able to build. It was raised by the Inca in the 15th century, younger than a lot of European cathedrals. Hold on to that, because everything strange here gets stranger once you accept how recently it was made. The stones are where it grabs you. Some stand taller than a grown man. The largest are estimated to weigh well over 100 tons, and by some accounts, far more. They are not stacked like bricks. Their faces curve and fold around one another in 3 dimensions, interlocking like puzzle pieces cut by someone who could somehow see inside the rock before the first chip came off. No mortar, nothing between one giant and the next but the precision of the cut, and that precision got tested cruelly. Cusco sits on active fault lines, and over the centuries earthquakes have cracked and flattened the colonial churches the Spanish built, later on flatter, easier ground. The Inca walls did not fall. The stones are trapezoidal, leaning slightly inward, shaped so that when the ground heaves, they shift and settle back into place instead of toppling. By instinct or by lost knowledge, they shrug off the exact forces that leveled everything raised after them. And the harder you look at how that was even possible, the worse the problem gets. Why the old story is cracking. The official explanation sounds reasonable enough on paper. A powerful civilization. Tens of thousands of coordinated hands, ramps and ropes of woven grass, rollers, stones patiently rubbed against stones until they seated. Some estimates put 20,000 workers on this site across the better part of a century. People do staggering things when they pull together, and I would never underestimate organized labor. But there are 2 problems it hurries past, and once you see them, you cannot unsee them. The first is transport. The stone was quarried, by the best reading of the geology, miles away, and not flat miles. Mountain miles, across ravines and up grades that would make a loaded truck strain in low gear today. The Inca had no iron tools that anyone has ever found, no wheels for hauling, no draft animals anywhere near strong enough for a load like this. The llama, for all it can do, cannot drag a boulder the size of a small house up a mountain. The second problem is worse, and it is the one that keeps specialists awake. Moving a stone is one thing, placing it is another entirely. Lowering a 100-ton block into a wall so its irregular underside settles flush against the irregular tops of the stones, already there, with gaps so fine a knife blade will not go in, is something else completely. You cannot fine-tune a stone that heavy by tapping it with a mallet, and you cannot lift it back out to shave a high spot and try again. And yet here the most massive stones are often the best fitted of all. The heavier the block, the harder the fit should be. Here the opposite seems to hold. So, if this is already itching at the back of your skull the way it does mine, do yourself a favor and subscribe, because I have more sites lined up going straight under the machine, and some of them are worse than this one. What the machines actually do. Picture the person who does this work. She is down on her knees on a cold terrace at first light, before the tour buses grind up the hill, one gloved hand resting flat against a seam where 2 enormous stones meet. Beside her, a tripod-mounted scanner sweeps the wall with a thread of laser light, ticking off millions of points every second. And on the laptop balanced on the stones, a gray ghost of the wall, is slowly assembling itself out of the dark. Her breath fogs in the cold. Her knees ache against the rock. She has spent whole seasons on walls like this one, in the Andes and elsewhere. And somewhere along the way, she learned to distrust the thing that awe does to a person standing in front of something this large. Awe makes you generous. It makes you fill in the gaps that are not really there. So, she does not look at the boulders the way you and I would. She watches the screen, waiting for the joint to resolve, the way you wait for a photograph to surface in a tray. She has watched 1,000 joints do what joints do: meet roughly, close well enough, betray the small imperfections that tell you a human hand was here and got tired. Point by point, the seam sharpens. And when it finally snaps into focus, she goes very still. Because the line the machine is drawing is cleaner than she expected. Cleaner than the story she was handed in a lecture hall says it has any right to be. She wipes the screen with her thumb, half certain it is a smudge, a glitch, some trick of the sensor. It is not. She checks the calibration. She runs the pass again. The result does not move. The number in the corner keeps climbing. The surface keeps tightening. And the gap that is supposed to be there simply is not. She leans in closer, and for a long moment, she stops trusting her own eyes. That is what these tools are for. Laser scanning and photogrammetry can now record a wall down to fractions of a millimeter, capturing every joint as a cloud of points a computer can measure without ever getting tired, without a pet theory to protect, without a single season's funding running dry halfway through. Then machine learning sweeps across that data, hunting for patterns a human eye would need lifetimes to catch. And this is not science fiction. Out in the deserts not far from here, researchers using AI to comb aerial imagery have already nearly doubled the number of known Nazca line figures. Pulling faint geoglyphs out of ground people had walked across for decades. In the Amazon, laser mapping has stripped away the canopy and revealed entire lost cities. The tools are real, they work, and they are now being turned on the stone architecture of the Andes. Here is what changes when you can finally read a wall all at once. Every joint and angle and curve held in one model. You stop asking how heavy is this stone and start asking whether there is a system in the way these stones meet. Do the curves repeat? Do the proportions follow rules? The second you make the wall answer as a whole instead of one boulder at a time, it stops looking like clever masonry and starts looking like something designed. That is the real reason people say everything changed. Not because a machine handed down a verdict, because it handed us questions we never knew how to ask. And some of them are questions we may not want the answers to. The question of the sky. Which brings us to the most tempting question of the lot, and the one where I owe you the truth about what is proven and what is not. Plenty of ancient peoples watched the sky with obsessive care, and the Inca were absolutely among them. This part is not fringe. The Inca genuinely tracked the sun across the year. They raised horizon markers on the hills around Cusco to pin down the solstices for their planting calendar. To this day, the June solstice is celebrated at Sacsayhuaman itself, on ground the Inca chose on purpose. The sky was wound right through how these people understood time and power and the land under their feet. So, it is fair to ask whether the geometry of the walls themselves is holding any of that knowledge. Some researchers argue the angles buried in Sacsayhuaman stones line up with solar and even lunar events, including the lunar standstill, the far limit the moon only touches at the ends of a cycle that runs nearly 19 years. If that were ever confirmed, it would mean someone watched the moon methodically across almost 2 decades, long enough that whoever started the record might not have lived to see it close. But here is the line I will not cross for you, even when it would make the better story. That idea is a contested hypothesis, argued mostly at the edges of the field, not a confirmed finding handed down by any machine. Point enough measurements at a wall this size, and it will eventually line up with something, and telling a real alignment from a lucky coincidence is the hard part. So if the sky will not give us a clean answer yet, maybe we have been trusting the wrong sense this whole time. Maybe the wall was never only built to be seen. The question of sound. There is a second layer people love to reach for, and it deserves that same honesty. Archaeoacoustics, the study of how ancient spaces handle sound, is a real and growing field. At other Andean sites, researchers have documented deliberate acoustic design. The ceremonial heart of Chavin de Huantar has genuine sound-shaping architecture built into its stone passages, engineered to bend and throw noise in ways a body standing inside would feel as much as hear. Sound clearly mattered to the people of these mountains, and they plainly knew how to build for it. Whether Sacsayhuaman's terraces were shaped the same way, nobody has proven, and you should be suspicious of anyone who swears to you a computer confirmed these stones were tuned to hum inside your chest. What is fair to say is this: the same precise scans that let us test the astronomy can also model how sound moves across these faces, and researchers are only starting to run those tests. The question is wide open. It is not a headline, not yet. The honest mystery. Strip the wild claims away and something genuinely unsettling is still sitting there. And it is stranger than anything anyone could invent. We are standing in front of a wall built with no iron, no wheel, no draft animals, and no written plans anyone has ever recovered, and it solves problems of weight and force and fit that we would sweat over today with cranes and computers at our backs. The knowledge that made it was real. It got recorded somehow, taught somehow, passed down somehow. And then, inside a single generation of the Spanish arrival, the people carrying that knowledge were scattered, their record keepers silenced, their craft broken and half forgotten. So, the question that actually haunts this place is not about visitors from elsewhere, and the evidence points nowhere near them. The tool marks are human, the ambition is human, the loss is human, the real mystery is a human one. Where did this understanding come from? How deep did it run? And how much of it drained away before anyone on the outside thought to write it down? The machines cannot answer that. What they can do is force us to quit underestimating the people who cut these stones. Every time we measure Sacsayhuaman more precisely, the builders look less like laborers who got lucky, and more like engineers working from a body of knowledge we are still trying to rebuild from the only record they left us, which is the wall itself. That is what truly changed when the scanners went up. Not a secret cracked open in an afternoon, but a slow, humbling realization that we have been reading this wall too simply for 500 years, and the tools to finally read it right have only just landed in our hands. If you want to be here when those tools swing toward the next site, subscribe, because this is only the first wall going under the machine. And tell me down in the comments, which ancient place do you most want to see scanned this way? And do you think the people who built Sacsayhuaman knew far more than we have ever given them credit for?